We're going to get to it right now, folks. Topic number one of the conversation. We got Pat Dowd here joining us to break this all down. And we've been able to discuss so many different positions ad nauseum, regardless of what they may be. The one position that hasn't gotten enough talk, and it's probably one of the more important positions, and that would be the inside linebacker room. And when you discuss both inside backer positions, your middle Mike linebacker, the captain of your defense, the quarterback of your defense, the signal caller of your defense, the general, if you will, of your defense. He's setting all the pieces in motion. He's the guy that everybody looks to for that leadership and that guidance on the field. He's the defensive coordinator on the field. And then you have the weak side linebacker, which is his running mate. He's kind of what I like to call the heat-seeking missile. He's the guy that blows stuff up, that runs around the field, that takes stuff head on, that just really makes all of those wow, like, oh my goodness, types of plays out there. And Bama has had in its history a lot of phenomenal Mike linebacker and weak side linebacker duos, tandems, combinations here. But now you look at Jalen Moody and Henry To'o, or Henry To'o and Jalen Moody, if you want to put the mic in front of the wheel here. So, Pat, as we look at these two, Christian Harris off to the NFL draft. He had a good 3 years. He was kind of raw when he first came in from Louisiana, but learning from Coach Golden and Coach Saban and the guys ahead of him, Christian Harris was able to put out a pretty solid career and look to see him do well in the NFL. But now you've got Henry To'o and Jalen Moody. And Henry T spoke last week about playing at linebacker. It's man on a string. You're moving on a string. If I do this, you do this. You have my back, I have yours. When we play together, then a defense can be really something nice when you got the two guys in the middle playing well together. And Bama's had its history of great play at inside linebacker. But when you look at To'o and Moody, can it be up there? I mean, how good can they be as a tandem for this upcoming season?
Well, I think they can at least be as good as they were last season. And down the stretch of the season last year, I mean, they were playing real good, stopping the run and really Pico and utilizing them in the blitz packages. I think there'd be a couple third or fourth downs where they'd send them both, and they'd really explosive getting back there. But I think part of the reason why this position that the middle linebacker position it hasn't been widely talked about is because I think that it feels pretty secure in the sense of whether combination it is next to To'o, whether it is Jalen Moody. There's some comfort in knowing that he's been in this system for a while, and he's shown some flashes of being a pretty good player. I think it was during the 2020 season when they were playing Arkansas when he filled in. I think he had double-digit tackles that game. It was really impressive, but just didn't really have an opportunity to get on the field last year because Harris and To'o really didn't miss any games or much of any plays during the season.
And that's the biggest thing, Pat, with Moody is now it looks like he's going to get that chance. He's going to get that opportunity. You mentioned the experience. He's been here. He's been at Alabama since 2018. Came as a 3-star from South Carolina. He's been here the entire tenure of Pete Golding. He's played in several games. Looking at 40-plus games Moody has been in. So he's shown he can fit the run gaps. He's got lateral quickness. He started off this past season against Miami with an interception, so there's some coverage skills. Moody has an ability, and he has a lot of capability. And then we saw with To'o down the stretch last year, he got better, got more comfortable hitting gaps, got more comfortable taking on blocks and shedding off blocks, got more comfortable doing those things from a Mike linebacker perspective. It's just, I guess for a lot of people out there that they saw what the Rolando McClains and Hightowers and C.J. Mosley's, Nico Johnsons, the Reuben Fosters, Reggie Raglins. They saw what all of these guys did. And even down to Dylan Moses and Christian Harris, though, that tandem was not as elite as others, still good enough to win a national championship. I guess for some people it's, can they play that aggressive as a linebacker?
Well, look, I mean, when you listed off all those guys, that's a pretty high standard for any team to reach.
It is.
And, I mean, for the last couple years, I wouldn't say Alabama's middle linebacker play has been elite. I think the last first-round pick they had at middle linebacker was Rashaan Evans. I could be wrong, but it might be Rashaan Evans going to the Tennessee Titans. I think that's the highest drafted one that they've had in the last few years. But, I mean, there's no question that this group can be effective in whatever capacity or whatever combination, that gets put out there. But I think something to note about Moody is, like you said, he's been here his entire tenure. He was in the transfer portal. Nick Saban was able to get him out. I know we talk about all the guys who Nick Saban was able to poach from other schools, but he was able to get Moody back here once Harris went to the draft. And I think the important thing to note about Moody is he's a guy who wants to be here and who wants to play for Alabama.
I remember when Moody spoke to reporters, and I think it was last year or the year before, he mentioned when I got my offer from Alabama, I was seeing crimson from then on. So that kind of shows you the loyalty and the dedication he's put into the program. So hopefully he can not only secure that spot, but hold that spot next to Henry T. But as we look at here, Pat, some young names at that weak side linebacker position, I look to maybe push Moody a little bit to try to see if they can grow. And you look at guys like Deontay Lawson. You look at guys like Kendrick Blackshire. He came as a full-grown man from Duncanville, Texas in the 2021 class. You've got guys like Ian Jackson in here from Prattville, who's in here for his second season. You've got a Sean Murphy as a true freshman 5-star. You've got a Giad Campbell, true freshman 5-star. And Campbell can play inside or outside, but he's working inside. And then you even got a Demoy Kennedy, though he's working outside the spring as an experiment because Keanu Colt is missing spring due to an injury. But when Colt comes back, you got to think they'll put Kennedy back inside. But you got some young names here that want to see can their opportunity grow here to get on the field.
Yeah, and the two guys I think of that group I think I'm really looking at are Lawson and Blackshire, and for the reason of they've been in the system a year and they have a little bit of a leg up on some of these other younger players like Sean Murphy or Jihad Campbell who were just arriving. But I think, well, first of all, for Lawson, I mean, he had a monster spring game a season ago.
He did.
And that was as a freshman arriving in the spring, I believe. And I mean, he was really impressive during that game, even with guys like Christian Harris or Henry To'oTo'o. I think he coming away, or even Jalen Moody, who he was battling even back then for a spot up on the depth chart. So I think Lawson's really going to, with another year under his belt, is really going to push Moody for that starting role. And Kendrick Blackshire, I think, is an example of a player who was assigned to special teams last season and played with enthusiasm. And that's
ran down the field, took a guy's head off, and got called for targeting.
Yeah, and I think that's an aspect that Nick Saban looks in players that he will look to reward, because I think he's brought it up with players in the past. I mean, especially the young guys who kind of do their time on special teams. They get an opportunity, will get opportunities in the spring because of what they play with enthusiasm on special teams during their freshman seasons.
Now, the things that I enjoy in looking at both Lawson and Blackshire, Pat, and you made good points bringing up both of those two. Lawson comes from that South Alabama, Mobile, Theodore High School, that area right there. And so many great players for Alabama have come from that southern region. When you discuss Julio Jones came from that area. Mark Barron came from that area. C.J. Mosley from that area. Ryan Anderson from that area. T.J. Yeldon from that area. A lot of big-name players came from that area coming to Alabama. And Lawson played at Mobile Christian Academy. Of course, our own Justin Smith did a lot of coverage on him. And when you watch Lawson play, he's kind of got the body of Rolando McClain a little bit, the cerebral mentality of C.J. Mosley a little bit. If you can get that on the field and see that in action, could it be something really nice there? And then Blackshire, you just don't see a lot of physical, freakish specimen built the way he's built. You look at that guy's legs and calf muscles and how that dude's built. That's a grown man. So it's going to be intriguing to see how much of a jump these two make here in spring, and all of the young inside linebackers gunning for time on the field. But it all kind of starts with Pete Golding, right? I mean, it's his fifth year at Alabama. It's his fourth year calling a defense. People have mixed emotions on Golding. Some say, well, when he came in, he started off on a rough slate with both of his inside linebackers being hurt, and Moses and McMillan, and he had to teach Harris and Shane Lee, and that was tough. And 2020, you were expecting a healthier Dylan Moses. He did not play up to the expectations that you thought Dylan would play up to, and Pete was able to still maneuver around that and win a championship. And of course, last year the defense didn't get going until late in the season. But with it being year 5 for Pete in the program, fourth year calling defenses, I mean, what do you want to see in him having this entire inside linebacker room playing with a lot of confidence? Because national championships for Alabama defensively, they kind of go hand in hand with how confident does the inside linebacker position play. What does Pete do to have that playing at a high level in that position, that particular group?
Well, in defensive, Pete, I don't think he's really had a lot of consistency at middle linebacker. And look, you really never do at the college level because, you have guys there for 4 years, or even as starters, maybe 1 or 2. So when you look at his past years of coaching the linebackers and who actually starts, there hasn't necessarily been those consistent 2 guys starting in his system. I think he's fortunate to have Toa back, so I think he needs to lean on him and Moody in that regard to be leaders in that group and really kind of bring along some of those younger guys. But, I think he just needs to keep doing what he's doing here. Like you said, he's in year 5, and I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap as a defensive coordinator. I think he does.
Great recruiter now.
He's a great recruiter. And he's been a great recruiter since he's arrived here, and he's has great relationships with these guys. I think it's just, just a part, especially with these young guys, just, keep developing them. And maybe they do hit on a Reuben Foster or Reggie Ragland type player in the future.
Now, of course, as we go back to To'o and Moody, the one good thing here is these two have crafted a relationship off the field. And that's the big thing is when you're playing next to somebody, you want to have that bond on the field, but also off to where you can trust that guy. And Henry T talked about it. He and Moody, they spend time together. They're watching film together. They're bonding off the field together. I don't know if they're going bowling together or skating together, whatever they're doing, but there's some type of bond. There's some type of brotherhood starting there. And that's key because that's what you saw with Reggie and Reuben. That's what you saw with Rashawn, Sean Dion, and Mac Wilson and those guys recent years, that off-field bond to where if I can trust you rolling around in the streets, but I can trust you on this football field. So hopefully that's become the dynamic here with To'o and Moody.
Yeah, trust is a big thing in middle linebacker. Like you're saying, you have my back, I have yours. It's really important when you're working, when you got to work as one. Like you said on the string, you go this way, I take this step with you.
It's going to be funny to watch this inside linebacker room grow. People, spring practice continuing here for your Crimson Tide. Going to be looking forward to seeing what happens here at the inside linebacker position. Hopefully To'o and Moody can be that strong, consistent, productive group. The spring game for the Crimson Tide coming up here on Saturday, April 16th, 2 p.m. Bryant Denny. It's inching closer and closer, folks.